Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. We are live. We are live from Los Angeles. And today we are going to talk about something that I've announced a little before. We are talking about this new concept, at least in the watch world, where we have an auction house that exclusively focuses on independent makers and has introduced the practice of an artist's fee, where such independent brands would actually earn at least a fraction of the kind of value that their works, their watches generate on the secondary market and on the auction circuit specifically. We talked about Marteau before, and the title of the auction extends that pun, the first strike. After all, marteau is the French word for hammer, and the idea is that that is, in fact, an instrument that both the auctioneer and the watchmaker share. So it's a very exciting initiative. I have had since the very beginning a few questions, and we will talk about those right away. I think I'll start by saying that the 5% that purely, by the way, comes out of the auction house, to me seems, of course, obviously better than nothing, for sure, but still a very small incentive for independent watchmakers to pay serious attention to this venture. The other quick question I have, which I will actually send directly to Arthur Touchot specifically, but also to their social media channels, is simply this: who is actually going to get, pardon me, this artist's fee, this maker's fee? And this, I think, is more of a question when it comes to brands like Daniel Roth, when it comes to brands like Urban Jürgensen, right? I'm not making this strange and sprawling anti-capitalist argument. It's a pretty specific question insofar as when the Daniel Roth watch sells, the 5% portion of that hammer price, is it going to go to LVMH? Is it going to go to Louis Vuitton, specifically La Fabrique du Temps, which is the establishment that makes watches under the Daniel Roth name today? Or will it go to Daniel Roth, the watchmaker, who, thank God, is still alive and still kicking, making watches in Le Sentier in his own house, running a pretty tight ship, pretty small company that includes his wife and his son? With Urban Jürgensen, again, will it go to the Derek Pratt estate or any of the other people who were associated with the earlier revival of the brand? Will it go to the equity group, the American investors and Kari Voutilainen, who own the rights of the name and who have just resurrected the brand? Right? Again, in the second case, maybe I don't feel as emotionally invested, um, and I don't necessarily see the difference as much and as clear cut, because after all, Kari Voutilainen has been in some shape or form already involved with that initial revival of the brand, of the name Urban Jürgensen. But with Daniel Roth, we have a serious ethical dilemma there, right? Daniel Roth already, for a number of reasons that I won't get into right now in real detail, um, he doesn't have the rights to his own name. He doesn't have the rights to his very distinctive, beautiful, and signature double ellipse case shape. Will he now also be deprived completely of the kind of value his watches generate on the secondary market, which is already the case, right? But there's this enterprise now, and it's gonna generate something. And is that going to go to Louis Vuitton? Is that going to go to the actual Daniel Roth in flesh and blood? That's, I think, a very important question. St. Peter says, hope you and the family are well. We're okay. We're okay. Got to see Anemone in theater this evening. Oh, lucky you. I should see that. That's because honestly, when Daniel Day-Lewis said he was retiring from acting, first of all, I was sad. Second, I didn't believe a word of what he said, but he had been pretty consistent, and he came back obviously for his son's project. So it's important, right? You know, it's a little bit different. I'm not, and I'm not complaining. I can tell you that. So I look forward to seeing it somehow. Nice to see you too, Ryan. And again, I want to remind you very quickly of the fact that I have a very humble goal of 5 super chats of $5 or more, which will extend this broadcast actually for 2 extra hours, not 1, but 2, until midnight. In either case, whatever you can throw my way in terms of support, to show your support or to respond to any of your questions, anything watch related, but specifically regarding any of the lots that are listed here. And this time we are going to go through every single one, right? Because these are all very striking and very important watches. Some of them historically significant, others quite rare and difficult to find on the secondary market, hard to acquire. And yet others are limited edition prototype versions of certain micro brands that had started making waves. So a few surprises there, but I'm not going to let my own prejudices, especially the negative prejudices, to cloud anything here. But we have 26 very interesting watches. In either case, if you want me to pay particular attention to any of them or prioritize any of them, you should most certainly send in your request with the lot number, and I will make a point to start with that. We're going to start with something quite simple but beautiful. This is the Urban Jürgensen Big 8, Reference 8 in the oversized case. Specifically a limited edition made for Japan in stainless steel one of only 20 examples. That classic round case shape with step bezel, teardrop lugs, very classical. Applied Breguet numerals, which here have a gold accent. That, of course, coordinates beautifully to the hand stack, the hoop of the hour hand, rendered in observatory style. And of course, the dial itself is in this off-white color with a grained appearance, with a grené finish. I really like how the crown is also somewhat integrated there to the case flank, right? Still reachable, usable, but very nicely contoured. The watch is 40 millimeters in diameter, so very much in line of a modern dress watch. A little bigger than the standard reference 8. And what I really like, again, beyond the stainless steel case material, is the fact that it lacks the date window, which is usually placed at around 6 o'clock with most examples of reference 8. This means you have a beautifully uninterrupted and very elegant dial to this very modern dress watch with a variety of classical watchmaking influences and references. And another great thing that they did here, and this gives us a glimpse of at least where the maker's fee is going to land in this particular case, they have a section in the lots that's called In Their Own Words. So Alex Rosenfield, co-CEO of Urban Jorgensen, his co-pilot being Kari Voutilainen, says this isn't a watch you see very often. Produced in 2020 as a limited edition for the Japanese market, this Big 8 was made in just 20 examples, which sold out right away. They rarely come up for sale, which, unless you're lucky enough to spot one on someone's wrist, is the only way you will encounter one. I have to disagree with that last part of the statement. Of course, things are changing now that Urban Jorgensen is back. The demand has certainly increased and intensified, but I think every time I looked for this watch on the secondary market in the last 3-4 years, I've been able to find an example, because at the end of the day, on the secondary market, there was very little value on Urban Jorgensen. A lot of different companies were either, like authorized dealers, were either having closeout sales themselves, or other gray market dealers had acquired a whole crate, let's say, of Urban Jorgensen watches that were acquired in a closeout sale, and therefore were marked down significantly. At any rate, let's not get carried away, right? Urban Jorgensen is great. They are going to be more valuable and collectible the way that the new investment group and leadership is putting them on the map with high-level watchmaking. But that sort of value was not there, and they don't really come up for sale. It's like they're dime a dozen, and usually selling for a song. Again, things are changing, but that's because precisely this kind of investment has come behind the name to resurrect it. The watch's name comes from the fact, Alex Rosenfield continues, it's a reference 8 with a 40 millimeter stainless steel case. St. Peter, thank you so much for the Gucci bandana fund. This guy knows that I'm no good, and I'm the most I don't know, good. I'm part of the Gucci gang, right? You know, good. If we count that as being a fan of Gucci Mane specifically, I have been a fan of Gucci for so long. When he was extremely immature, quote unquote, ignorant, and I have been even more impressed with everything that he has achieved since he has been reformed, since he has become a husband and father and an entrepreneur. So certainly, I do belong to 1017 Brick Squad. And if there's a bandana to be bought for that, hopefully from Gucci Mane's merch rather than the Gucci brand, I'd be lining up for it for sure. And you know, it's just the new way of covering my balding and receding hairline. It's a great resolution. The watch features many signature Orban Jorgensen touches, the teardrop lugs on the case, observatory-style hands, and most strikingly, a silver dial with hand-applied grenage finish. These finely grained dials have long been a UJ specialty, including on some truly incredible tourbillon pocket watches, but they are rarely seen on wristwatches. This watch is an interesting coming together of old school Orban Jorgensen references and more contemporary touches, representing a very particular period in the brand's history. This was Alex Rosenfield, again, co-CEO of Orban Jorgensen, telling us about the Big 8, reference 8, in a 40 millimeter stainless steel case, number 13 out of a limited run of 20 pieces. This was lot 2 with an estimated value set between 10,000 to 20,000 in Swiss francs. Lot 3, a very interesting watch with a personal message from the man Max Büsser himself. We're gonna skip that. I don't want to get any strikes, but we will certainly read the description in his own words. Legacy Machine 101 is quite significant in a number of ways. It's not for nothing that they have just come out with an Evo version, with a sporty version, smaller case with their integrated rubber band, a beautiful new rendition of the LM 101. It was one of those pieces that started the breaking out of Max Büsser and friends as more than just freaky. I use this in perhaps in a sense that aligns with the Ulysse Nardin freak, with a freaky watchmaking, freaky approach to watchmaking, but it's a series that has lasted until today, since 2014, and has been one of the most important parts of what allowed Max Büsser and friends to enter the watchmaking, independent watchmaking mainstream, because after all, the horological machines still to this day, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, are not for everyone, right? They're not for the average watch collector, whereas there's so much in the Legacy Machine series that is. This is a work of collaboration. First of all, it is part of the Hodinkee limited edition, which was offered in just 10 pieces. The other aspect of the collaboration, after all, the brand really lives up to the name Max Büse and Friends, was that it had an in-house movement, a caliber conceived exclusively for MB&F by Kari Voutilainen. So let's listen. I mean, I will be reading, but let's see what Max Büse says about this watch. This remarkable piece is one of the only 10 LM101 models produced in stainless steel by MB&F in collaboration with Hodinkee, making it a pivotal moment in modern independent watchmaking. This particular edition was released in 2015. Hodinkee's first collaboration with a watch brand, first ever Legacy machine crafted in stainless steel, the first to feature the striking dark chocolate brown PVD dial. At the time, MB&F typically expected a limited series to take up to 2 years to sell through its retail network. With this project, however, the demand far exceeded the expectations. Prior to the launch, I suggested leaving the Hodinkee name off the case back to allow for unsold pieces to be offered to retailers. Van Clymer declined, committing fully to the collaboration and agreeing to take all 10 pieces engraved with the Hodinkee name. The launch coincided with the Dubai Watch Week Gala dinner in October 2015. During the dinner, sales updates began to arrive by text message. First, it's live, followed 30 minutes later by 1 sold, 2 sold, 3 sold. By the time I went to bed that night, 6 had already been sold. By the morning, all 10 pieces were gone. The unexpected success of the LM101 Hodinkee marked a turning point for both Hodinkee and MB&F. The present example, number 2 of 10, provides a rare opportunity to acquire one of the most historically significant MB&F legacy machines ever produced. This is number 2 of a 10-piece limited edition of the Legacy Machine 101 in stainless steel for Hodinkee, with its distinctive chocolate brown dial. The pre-auction estimate is set between 50,000 to 100,000 Swiss francs for lot 3. Phoenician cedar. الله يخليك. مرحبتين. ألف شكرا. Thank you so much. 5 Australian. We are getting there slowly but surely. Only 3 super chats left for us to reach our humble goals. Super chats of $5 or more. But again, any contribution is appreciated. If you have been watching this channel for any length of time, you would know my passion for jumping hour watches because, one, I love the complication, especially in combination with retrograde minutes, which is not the case here. But I also love it aesthetically because using this rather unusual dial configuration allows the brand to use that negative space thereby generated with certain artistic flourishes that can be relatively maximalist, like Anderson Genève does, and they do it beautifully and singularly, I have to say. I don't think there is any other brand that does as beautiful jumping hour watches as Anderson Genève in the entire world. You can make the same argument with their world time wristwatches, but then you are pitting them against Patek Philippe, so that's a much tougher battle. But there is something about Chopard LUC Chopard when it comes to their jump hour pieces, which are just an absolute beauty in terms of the classical expression. Here, the watch has a Grand Feu enamel dial that is over a gold base. This was a series that was first introduced on the 25th anniversary of Chopard's establishment of an independent manufacturer, of a high horology manufacturer in LUC, named after the founder of Chopard, Louis Ulysse Chopard. It's a model that's called Quattro Spirits 25, and that Quattro refers to their 4-barrel movement, which provides up to 8 days of power reserve. Remarkable, especially significant because jump hour pieces, jump hour watches are quite power hungry as a complication, right? It's not for nothing. It's not magically that those digital wheels are advanced, or rather those wheels that give the digital expression of the hour are advanced. The railroad track for the minutes, as well as the minutes themselves, are applied also with enamel. They're enamel painted on the dial, so that allows this unique handmade handwork aspect of the watch to emerge even better. And you will realize that this frame that you see around the hour at minute 30 is actually simply the exposure of that gold base under the enamel. So we are looking at again another aspect of the handwork, because that window is not just a generic gold frame placed around the hour, which is the case with most jump hour watches or most date windows. Let's say any aperture that has a golden frame, chances are it's applied on the dial to draw particular attention to this indication. In this case, it's that gold base hand carved to draw attention to this digital expression of the hours. And the dial design is so practical and beautiful that you have it at 6 o'clock or minute 30 rather than 12, because at 12 the minute hand would have actually impeded your view of that jumping action, of that satisfying click and jump at the top of the hour, which almost would have defeated, of course, the purpose of this watch's existence. This is, in fact, number 1 of 100 pieces. And here is what Karl Friedrich Schäufele, the owner and president of Chopard Watches, says. The piece is in, by the way, in pink gold, 8-day power reserve once again, 40 millimeters in diameter. The hand-wound movement. By the way, I will just say this. As you have noticed from the 3 lots that I've showed so far, they did not include movement shots at all, which I don't know. I mean, they even have shots of the case back, especially to the number in series, but for whatever reason, movement shots are not included. Maybe they will in due time, because there's still more than a week until bidding itself opens. But maybe it's just oversight, and they will do it soon enough. But anyway, bidding officially starts at local time on Wednesday the 15th in Geneva and ends on Thursday the 23rd of October. So I hope before bidding starts in earnest, they will have uploaded more detailed pictures that include pictures of the movement as well. Phoenician Cedar says, instead of the enamel railroad track, I think it would have looked better with a gold inlay, therefore fitting a bit more with the date window border. I'm not going to disagree outright. I think that's a very original idea. Again, would it have been too much work, or would it have been even possible if they had hand engraved perhaps both the numbers and the railroad track on the gold base of the dial and then did the enamel work? Would that even be possible? I don't know, but I kind of like it. Although I think this watch could have looked also great with a black enamel dial and gilt inscriptions of both the brand signature and the minutes track. Don't you think that could also be a very sexy watch? But they have this model, by the way, beyond the anniversary model, they have released at least one more 100-piece run in different metal and with a different enamel dial. I can't recall off the top of my mind what that was, but it's basically something they have in the books, right? And they have been working on it, both in terms of new editions and new limited editions too. I know for sure they had something for the year of the dragon, but I think they also had a more quote unquote production model. So that's certainly something to see. Yes, they did have actually a white gold version with a black enamel dial. As such, just so. Which again, like, to have this kind of dial, pink gold dial base, white enamel, black enamel dial, and maybe gilt expression for the minute track. That could be a sexy watch as well. I'm completely working with your idea here, Phoenician Cedar. So thank you for your contribution, both in terms of the super chat and in terms of this idea. Yeah, black gilt dial for something like this would be beautiful. Everything else being the same. This was lot 5, number 1 of 100 for Chopard LUC Quattro Spirits 25. The pre-auction estimate is set between 30,000 to 60,000 in Swiss francs. Thank you again so much for your support. Please hit the like button. That is also a very cost efficient, in the way it costs nothing, to support the channel. By the way, I've seen this meme, because people keep saying, be nice to others. It literally doesn't cost anything. And the meme was saying, like, people keep saying this as if being a hater costs anything, right? So um, I love the haters as well. Don't take me wrong, but it generally doesn't cost anything to hit the like button, share the link with others, so I can at least expand this community with your help. But again, if you want to help in different ways, of course, YouTube offers you a number of them, and I outline some others in the video description. So keep in mind. Thank you again for tuning in. We are looking at the Marteau First Strike auction that is officially going to start on the 15th. But all the 26 lots are already listed. If you want me to take a closer look at any of these lots, feel free to send in the lot number. But right now, if there's anything I skipped or anything I've already discussed that you want me to talk about again or think about in further detail, feel free to send in the lot number with a super chat, and we will turn right back to it. We are right now looking at lot number 6, which is the Travel Time Watch by Laurent Ferrier. If you know a little bit about the history of Laurent Ferrier, and especially about his work or his involvement with Patek Philippe, I think you will recognize very quickly the origin of this watch. Because if you think about it, the travel time complication was given to Patek Philippe by the same person who gave them the world time complication, right? It's we're talking about Louis Cotier, who has designed this particular approach with the 2 sliding pushers on the side of the case to advance back and forth the hour hand to adjust the hour hand for reference time. Of course, in this case, we don't have a ghost or skeletonized additional hour hand, but a kind of fan-like opening through which we see a wheel that expresses the reference time, the hour of the reference time, as a number. So this is, again, a limited edition of a watch that Laurent Ferrier has in the catalog. It's the classic Traveler Globe Night Blue for William and Son, one of only 5 pieces. It has a 41 millimeter pink gold case with a very distinctive and special Chanlevé enamel dial. which depicts the world map with a red marking on the UK, which is, of course, the home of William and Son, for which this 5-piece limited edition was made. Laurent Ferrier says, in 2016, our London retailer William and Son, led by Mr. William Asprey, and yes, it is that Asprey actually, wanted an exceptional piece for their new store on Bruton Street in London. He dreamed of a special edition of our Traveller Globe Night Blue, featuring a Chanlevé enamel dial. As a tribute to him, we added a red enamel tip to highlight the United Kingdom. This creation, limited to only 5 pieces in red gold, remains one of the most beautiful interpretations of our Traveller collection. The 41mm pebble-inspired case displays local time, reference time, and the dates linked to the selected time zone. It houses a self-winding mechanical movement with our micro-rotor natural escapement and a 72-hour power reserve. The sapphire caseback reveals hand-finished decorations made entirely in our workshops, along with the William and Son engraving. There we go. And again, we only get a small glimpse of the movement itself. The dial certainly is beautiful. And of course, the influences of Patek Philippe, both in terms of their world time ethos and the special Chanlevé enamel dials they make for those watches, and the influence of the travel time Calatrava, so to speak, is there, but it's a watch of its own. Of course, for years, Laurent Ferrier, before he set off on his independent path and became the founder and the leader of the brand we know today, was the head of creations, head of design in Patek Philippe. So that influence, of course, doesn't just come out of nowhere. We're looking at the Ganley Traveller, Laurent Ferrier for William and Son, as part of a 5-piece limited run. And a beautiful Chanlevé enamel dial at the center. You have the date at 3 o'clock, the hour of the reference time at 9, which to me is not the ideal expression, but there are so many who actually love this watch. This was lot number 6 with a pre-auction estimated value between 20,000 to 40,000 in Swiss francs. Thank you so much, Ryan. So I can count on you as the last super chat, I guess, although we have less than 2 minutes left. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get 3 more super chats of $5 or more, but at least I can commit to doing my best and finishing today. But let's go to lot 4. It is a watch that they have used to showcase for this auction and that I have used in my thumbnail for this auction. Lot 4 is the Danny Roth Régulateur Tourbillon, reference 2187 in white gold. And Danny Roth, original founder of Danny Roth, shares his perspective on this piece in his own words. I'm going to read that first, and then maybe we'll talk a little more. When I created the tourbillon reference 2187, my goal was to honor tradition while expressing my own voice in watchmaking. The tourbillon, Breguet's legendary invention, for which I personally developed a version adapted to the wristwatch in the 1980s. Of course, Danny Roth was the master watchmaker, you can also say mastermind perhaps, behind the Breguet revival as a modern wristwatch brand. Naturally, the complication with which I wanted to launch my own brand. Its double ellipse case is my signature, neither round nor square, but a harmonious shape that naturally embraces the wrist. Thank you, Cool Kicks. I appreciate you. Crafted in white gold, this rare example features a Claude Paris guilloché dial, a handcrafted pattern that plays with the light and contrasts beautifully with the second subdial and the spectacular tourbillon opening at 6 o'clock. That's something we can pay attention to. Again, it's not so rare that it's a unique piece, but you will see that a lot of the earlier truly independent examples of Daniel Roth even then feature mostly the pinstripe, the vertical line guilloché dials that have almost become an immovable part of the visual aesthetic of the brand that was carried over to the creations after the Hourglass acquisition and also much later as well. However, more rarely, they have also employed the classic Claude Paris or hobnail pattern that we are also quite familiar with watchmaking, used, for example, on bezels by Patek Philippe quite often, where you may have seen Dupont lighters that feature this pattern on the case, but it's truly beautiful when it's used for the entire dial like this. And you will see, just like the Breguet dial aesthetic, to which, of course, in its modern expression, Danny Roth contributed quite extensively, every single sector is also outlined and framed with this coin-edged pattern too. So there is a lot of detail. Of course, every single sector / track is also what they call Breguet frosting, this sort of radially grained finish. And there's this three-pronged second sand, which is, of course, pivoting on the tourbillon, and it shows the seconds in ascending scales of 20, right? 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60. Stainless steel heat blued hands for the hour and minutes, beautifully legible. And this is a dual dial watch. So you have the tourbillon cage on the main dial, hour, minutes, seconds, beautiful cutout that frames the 60-second tourbillon. And then on the back, and that's why he called it the régulateur. You have first an oversized pointer date at the top, and below, in the form of an upward-facing crescent, you have a power reserve indicator as well. Again, both heat-blued stainless steel hands against the canvas of a hand guilloché Claude Paris dial. Once again, every sector being stunningly framed in that coin-edged decoration as well. Danny Roth continues. Most of my tourbillons featured a striped guilloché pattern, as I've just mentioned, but this particular motif, the hobnail, was reserved only for a few pieces, making it especially exceptional. And I dare say that they're also slightly more rare in white gold compared to pink gold, or compared to gold in general, yellow. How many of each was made? Let me see. I think at some point a collected man did a collector's guide to the early examples of this piece, reference 187 and 187 included. And I think overall, the white gold should be more rare than other shades of gold. I can't quickly find the exact numbers, so I will leave that to another discussion, but just look at this piece. Wow. It's no wonder that they highlighted this above all. Beautiful. At the heart of the watch beats the DR307 caliber, and I believe that's a reworking of the Lemania tourbillon movement. I think caliber 387, which, by the way, Danny Roth was individually involved in conceiving, right? He collaborated on a lot of these movements that were used in Breguet watches and also later Roth watches that were built on Lemania et Bosch. Turning the watch over, Daniel Roth continues, reveals its second face, a secondary dial displaying the dates and power reserve. This double face design offers the wearer both beauty and functionality. The reference 2187 is far more than just a watch. It's a declaration of independence, and this rare white gold example is one of the most collectible versions of the model. Beautiful. Lot number 4, Danny Roth Tourbillon Régulateur, reference 2187, in white gold with a hobnail guilloché dial. The pre-auction estimate sets the value of the watch between 70,000 to 140,000 in Swiss francs. Please hit the like button. I would really appreciate that. That really, really helps me push the channel forward. Just as a point of comparison, we had at lot 2, the Big 8, Urban Jurgensen, the 40 millimeter stainless steel case made for Japan specifically. Now at lot number 11, you're looking at a platinum example of reference 37. Name the 7 differences in the 2 photos. That's just a bad joke, but you can immediately tell what I meant by that, right? There's the date window at 6 o'clock, which to me is somewhat unseemly, but you have a beautiful guilloche dial here instead of that Grenet dial that has 2 distinctive patterns at the center and in the oversized subdial for the seconds. Again, you have that post-Breguet aesthetic, so to speak, where you have a radially brushed hour track here with Roman numerals. Each sector is outlined or framed with a coin-edged design. And those numerals, by the way, are in a shade of blue, which, of course, combines beautifully with those heat-blued observatory hands. And our hand, of course, is complemented by that golden hoop as well. Beautiful piece again with a stepped bezel and teardrop lugs. Voila, we have, at least in this particular case, a look at the movement with its full 21 karat oscillating weight for the rotor, which has its unique guilloche pattern as well. Here's what Alex Rosenfield says about the watch. That movement, by the way, is built on the base of Frédéric Piguet caliber 1160. While the reference 2 and reference 3 perpetual calendars get much of the attention when it comes to 1980s and 1990s Urban Jurgensen, the simpler time only or time and date reference 8 is also well worth a look. This one is a stunning example of the time and date version. The 37 millimeter platinum case houses a silver dial with a guilloche center and both blue Roman numerals and blue minutes track printed around the perimeter. That blue is carried through the blued hands with gold inserts, pardon me, making the watch a bit of a chameleon, looking warmer or cooler depending on the light and the strap it's paired with. The reference 8 is a supremely wearable watch that is both exceptional and still under the radar. It really is a beautiful dress piece. If I like the aesthetic of the Big 8 a little more, that is lot 2, I like the lot 11 for its proportions. I think this is much more aligned with a classic dress watch ethos with a 37 millimeter case. As you can see, it wears beautifully on the wrist from this picture. This is the platinum reference 8, time and date, Urban Jurgensen dress watch, lot 11. The pre-auction estimate is set between 15,000 to 30,000 in Swiss francs. Let's do something a little different. Lot 10 is the Harry Winston Opus number 5 by Felix Baumgartner. So essentially what you're looking at is an Uhrwerk that was brought in-house to Harry Winston with the help and guidance of Maximilian Büsser, who was at that time head of high watchmaking at Harry Winston, again, before he set off on his own path. The fifth installment of the Opus series. The Wandering Hours complication, reinterpreted in Uhrwerk's unique fashion. Of course, the case design with those 3-finger columns that hint at that original flagship store and its architecture for Harry Winston in New York City. One of 45 pieces, number 21 of 45 pieces in platinum. Let's see what Felix Baumgartner, co-founder of Uhrwerk, says about this piece. We joined the Opus adventure almost by chance. During Basel World 2003, representatives from Harry Winston wandered through the fair and eventually found themselves in the AHCI booth. This is the Academy of Independent Creators, the kind of college, let's say, of independent watchmakers that center around mostly Swiss watchmaking, but it has become quite international, even global in its reach over the decades. At that time, Felix Baumgartner continues, we were presenting our Uhr 103, authentic, unconventional, and unlike anything else on display. Word quickly spread that a young team was doing something daring, and soon our booth became a place of curiosity and excitement. Among those intrigued was Maximilian Büsser, then responsible for Harry Winston timepieces. Curious, he came to meet us personally, and that encounter marked the true beginning of the Opus story for us. We were young, fearless, and driven by ambition, so when the opportunity came for the next Opus creators, following our friend Vienne Alter and his Opus 3, we were absolutely thrilled. The challenge was monumental. We had just 1 year to conceive, design, and develop an entirely original concept of the Opus legacy. What followed was a period of intense creativity and innovation. We were determined not only to rise to the challenge, but also push the boundaries further than ever before. The Opus project gave us the chance to channel our vision into a timepiece that was both bold and complex, embodying the spirit of Uhrwerk while redefining the idea of what a watch could be. Looking back, the Opus adventure was not simply a collaboration, it was a turning point, a definitive chapter that shaped our future and established Uhrwerk as a pioneer of independent watchmaking. Number 25 of a 45-piece limited run, Opus 5 by Felix Baumgartner. The watch has a modernized interpretation of the classic Wandering Hours complication, and it also has an indicator of for day and night, and a power reserve indicator for 5 days, very discreetly and harmoniously integrated to its dial display. This is lot 10, and the piece has a pre-auction estimate for its value set between 60,000 to 120,000 Swiss francs. Ryan Hoffrey, thank you so much. Your like ratio is wow relative to average viewership. To be frank, appreciate you immensely. Well, I don't want to hound people, but I think part of it is because I try to actively remind people to hit the like button. Again, it costs nothing and it matters tremendously, at least to me personally, right? I like to think that it's pushes the exposure of this channel a little more. And honestly, I do have an outsized um, effect. Part of it is my Instagram reach that got me there. But I don't know if it was someone, whoever it was. I thank them, but YouTube itself has been quite supportive to me in the past, integrating me to YouTube Creators Collective. I think it's quite rare for someone who has such a small audience, considerably small audience on YouTube. But anyway, so your support matters in ways that can't be quantified, that I certainly don't know how to quantify. So thank you so much for anything. If it's sharing the link, if it's clicking the like, if it's expressing your enthusiasm or support in a comment after the show, if it is hyping, which is a new function. Some of you might be familiar with it. That's also a free way of pushing the video forward. And I would encourage you to use that for perhaps the shorter videos and not really the live streams, if you would. But yeah, there are so many ways you can support the channel without necessarily, putting anything out there financially. So if that is a problem, there are so many ways you can help, and it does change. But of course, since I do this professionally, since I put so much work and time into this, of course, any contributions, any donations are much, much appreciated. Sorry, I just needed to send very quick message. All right, back to the regularly scheduled programming. You guys remember it was quite the feat when IWC released their secular perpetual calendar last year. What they called the eternal calendar. And as part of that discussion, you would remember I kept saying that it's quite unique. It's a very rare feat that a watchmaker would pardon me, put their expertise in executing, in realizing a secular perpetual calendar, but there was an example before, and that it was also quite worthy. And again, remember that in 2024, in the so-called Oscars of the watch world, the GPHG, the Portuguese Eternal Calendar by IWC was actually chosen as the best watch, winning the Aiguille d'Or. Now you're looking at Anna Saint-Genève Secular Perpetual Calendar. Anna Saint-Genève is a brand that I really adore, and I consider Alexandre, the CEO, Alexandre Eschliman, as a friend, so I might be a little biased. This is an immense work of horological complexity, and certainly well worth a second look, so to speak, especially after the complication received the kind of mainstream attention with IWC's take on it. This is a white gold. Is it a white gold? Yeah, it's a white gold case made by Jean-Pierre Agman. Very beautiful case with distinctive splaying lugs. Nicely balanced dial with Breguet numerals. Proudly spelling out the complication at the center of the dial. Anna Saint-Genève Secular Perpetual Calendar, number 40. And then you have the calendrical indications as well. It's understood to have been made in less than 30 pieces, actually. And this particular example also carries between its lugs the initials of the case maker. Let's see if there's a picture of that. Fortunately not. That's the double dial, the dual dial that's behind the case back. Sven Andersen, founder and watchmaker, master watchmaker of Anna Saint-Genève, explains this, by the way, comes with a recent service by Andersen. In 1996, Sven Andersen says, I created the Perpetual Secular Calendar, the first wristwatch fully programmed to follow the Gregorian calendar in a 400-year cycle, calibrated all the way to the year 2400. Unlike a perpetual calendar traditionally conceived, which will incorrectly display February 29th in years 2100, 2200, 2300, this mechanism automatically suppresses those leap days while correctly retaining February 29th in the year 2400. So essentially, a secular perpetual calendar is the kind of perpetual calendar that accounts for those non-leap years, right? Specifically 2100, 2200, 2300, which by any other measure actually fall on the leap year in the 4-year cycle, However, according to the Gregorian calculation, they should not be counted as leap years, and therefore they don't have a February 29th. To achieve this, Anderson continues, I developed a unique gear system, a leap year cam advancing every 4 years, paired with a reduction wheel that engages a 50-tooth secular wheel, completing a full revolution only once every 400 years. This makes the watch accurate for centuries without adjustment. On the dial side, simplicity reigns, hours, minutes, seconds, and a discrete date aperture. The complexity is revealed on the reverse, where 3 subdials track the months. Right here, the leap year cycle, again, right there, and the grand 400-year secular cycle, which is right there, which is explained here, secular years with February 28th, normal leap years, February 29th. And on the periphery of the dial, the hand actually shows your place in a 50-year cycle. The platinum case introduces for the first time the triangle lugs. We were just talking about this. How beautiful and expressive. That are soldered to the case. The case is made by Jean-Pierre Agman, who manufactured almost all secular perpetual calendars. No more than 30 examples have been produced. The number on the dial corresponds to the number of the movement, so it's not the 40th example of the watch necessarily, but certainly new movement number 40 for this particular piece. It remains one of the only 3 wristwatches capable of keeping perfect time with the Gregorian calendar. This has been Lot 12, Anderson Genève Perpetual Secular Calendar in platinum with a case made by Jean-Pierre Agman. Hi, Ducky. And the estimated value of the piece pre-auction is set between 30,000 to 60,000 in Swiss francs. We're looking at the Marteau First Strike auction. Marteau exclusively focuses on independent makers and introduces the concept of a maker's fee. It might be familiar from the world of arts to some of you, but for this enterprise, for the horological enterprise, it is a first. And that means a 5% fee on the value generated by the watch goes to the independent maker. And it comes from the auction house. So it's not an additional 5% fee that you would have to add as a potential winner of this auction that is going to start on the on the 15th and take place until 23rd. Oh wow, it's actually 3%. Interesting. I've always thought it was 5%, and I remember it being advertised as 5%. So now I'm reading in the fine print that it is 3%, which seems remarkably low. Again, it's better than nothing, but hey, it's interesting. And it's now specified as it coming out of the buyer's premium, it says now. All right. That's very interesting. Buyer's premium is 20% on the hammer price, and Marteau will undertake 3% of the hammer price out of the buyer's premium to the initial watchmaker or a designated nonprofit entity supporting watchmaking and craftsmanship. Right. The fine print is a little different than what I initially was informed, but it's good to know. Again, if you have any particular requests, this is the auction that we are looking at. I'm going to send the link to the chat. We have interesting takes on the last piece that we were looking at, the Anderson Genève perpetual calendar, secular. AB says, I like the dial, but not, or rather, I like the watch, except for the lugs. And Ducky says, I like the lugs and not the dial. I certainly love the case design. Not enamored, actually, with the front side of the dial. But again, there is so much information to convey that I understand the division of labor, so to speak, for a dual dial configuration. But I really like the case design. I think like a 37 millimeter time-only piece for something like this would be amazing. And it's a case made by the late Jean-Pierre Armand, so it's going to be a mark of value in and of itself. So let's go for something a little more predictable. Let's look at Jean. Start with the Centigraphe Souverain, which in an important sense is a discontinued watch, because even though there's still a Centigraphe in FP Jean's lineup, it is now part of the Line Sport series. And of course, there's still a version of it that comes in precious metal and not only in an integrated bracelet titanium expression, but in pink gold and in platinum too. But that watch is a little bit different from this, much larger as well, even though it sits still quite comfortably and proportionally on the wrist because of its lugless design. Let's look at lot 21, the Jean Centigraphe Souverain. There's no personal statement here. Pink gold, 40 millimeters in diameter from 2011. Introduced in 2007, by the way, as part of an exchange with the legendary Scuderia Ferrari team chief, Jean Todt, with a motorsports inspiration. A Centigraphe Souverain was designed to record elapsed intervals ranging from 1/100th of a second to 10 minutes. It's three registers, each operate at their own rhythm, with the first completing a full rotation in just 10 seconds. A display that is both functional and visually striking. At the heart of the watch is the manual winding caliber 1506, a movement defined by its original and practical construction. A patented mechanism isolates the chronograph from the going train, ensuring that the timing functions operate independently without affecting the balance, amplitude, or stability of timekeeping. The present example pairs a 40mm pink gold case with a gray dial that highlights both the warmth of the metal and the subtle contrast of the overlapping subdials. By the way, even though the watch has a very classical look, the layout of the subdials gives away, perhaps I should say, its motorsports inspiration, gives it a kind of dashboard style aesthetic. Red chronograph hands provide excellent legibility while introducing a discrete touch of color to an otherwise restrained palette. The proportions are carefully considered, giving the watch presence on the wrist while remaining slim and comfortable, characteristics that are central to the Souverain line. Here's a movement shot, entirely executed in 18 carats pink gold, matching the material, in this case, of the case, no pun intended. Over the years, the Centigraphe Souverain has become a defining model within the FP Journe catalog, admired by collectors for its distinctive display and technical ingenuity. This version in pink gold with a gray dial represents one of the most refined expressions of the design. And again, it is not a variation, it's not a variant that is part of the present catalog, which in the case of FP Journe usually means that it's never coming back. So these kinds of auctions are usually your only chance in acquiring one. Lot 21 of the Marteau First Strike auction. Centigraphe Souverain in 18 karat pink gold. The pre-auction estimates sets the value of the watch somewhere between 150,000 to 300,000 in Swiss francs. Let's look at the other Journe piece at lot 13. We're looking at the FP Journe Octa Quantième Perpétuel. This is a self-winding perpetual calendar by Journe. It's a very recent example from year 2024. And it's a boutique edition that combines the pink gold case with a beautiful guilloche dial. Among the many references produced by FP Journe, Few embodied the brand's dual commitment to mechanical ingenuity and aesthetic harmony as perfectly as the Quantième Perpétuel Boutique Edition. While the perpetual calendar has always been one of the manufacturer's most coveted complications, the present example stands at the very pinnacle due to its remarkable exclusivity. Boutique edition pieces occupy a special place in the FP Journe universe. They are not available through traditional authorized dealers, but only through the brand's own network of boutiques, spaces that feel less like stores, more like sanctuaries for collectors. This is clearly from the Paris boutique. The 40 millimeter, pardon me. Even there, the boutiques' access is far from guaranteed. Allocations are strictly limited, with each boutique receiving just a handful of examples each year. As a result, acquiring one of these rare pieces is as much about a relationship with the brand as it is about purchasing a watch. The 40 millimeter pink gold case of this example strikes a perfect balance between presence and wearability. Journe's signature ergonomics make it supremely comfortable on the wrist, while the warm glow of the precious metal underscores its elegance. The dial, a masterclass in restraint and refinement, features applied gold numerals and finely framed calendar apertures that shimmer as the light moves across the surface. At its center, a delicate Clou de Paris guilloche that brings a sense of artisanal craftsmanship, creating depth and texture without distraction. Behind this beauty lies one of F.P. Journe's most distinguished calibers, the 1303, designed around the fully instantaneous jumping mechanism. That's their signature self-winding movement that is used as a base for all the different complications. When they are automatic, of course. Um, and when caliber 1300, by the way, first came, it was quite path breaking. I mean, both in terms of its compact profile, but also its full 5-day power reserve, which I believe when it first came out was a world record. That's back at the turn of the millennium, basically, 2001. At precisely midnight, the day, dates, and month advance simultaneously, a choreography of mechanical precision that is rarely seen and even more rarely executed with such elegance. The calendar can be set entirely via the crown, with a cleverly concealed correctors hidden beneath the lug at 1 o'clock, preserving the purity of the case design. Pardon me. For collectors seeking a perpetual calendar that blends mechanical ingenuity, artisanal craftsmanship, and true rarity, this 40 millimeter pink gold boutique edition offers a magnificent opportunity. This is lot 13 for the FP Journe Octa Quantième Perpétuel. The pre-auction estimate for the value of this watch is set between 80,000 to 160,000 in Swiss francs. We are slowly closing on the third hour, 20 minutes until we complete the 2 hours of this broadcast. So I would very much appreciate your support, even if it is just clicking the like, even if it's just upvoting. It really helps. I want to see something a little different because we have highlighted de Béthune before, we have highlighted Laurent Ferrier before, and again, specifically a Traveler piece. Let's look at Romain Gauthier. This is the C, what was previously called Continuum, in its platinum edition, with its integrated take on the rubber strap. In various shades of gray, and with its unique execution of an asymmetric dial with an eccentric display for the seconds. The movement of the watch is uniquely rendered in 18 karat white gold for the platinum version, which harmonizes beautifully on the visual level with the platinum case that carries it. Here is Romain Gauthier about the watch in his own words. When I created the first C, my aim was to propose an haute horlogerie timepiece that embodied all the characteristics of craftsmanship, refinement, and savoir-faire, yet expressed through a more modern and casual design. The first titanium iteration represented exactly that balance. It was the first time I approached a watch with the freedom spirit at its core. Until then, each of our creations had been conceived first and foremost within the codes of traditional watchmaking, noble materials, polished finishes, and a delicate design, before being later interpreted in sportier iterations with more technical materials. With the C, I deliberately reversed that process, and when I set out to develop a more heritage-oriented version of this watch, I was determined to preserve that distinctly modern and casual character that defines the collection. Of course, there is now a platinum version with an integrated bracelet as well, but this is kind of the original Continuum, the original C in its platinum edition. Platinum and white gold are historically among the most revered materials in fine watchmaking. Crafting the movement in gold to me was the ultimate way to make this piece resonate with the most discerning collectors, to highlight the refinement of this movement and to contrast it with the titanium editions. We enhanced it with polished finishes. Casual in its design, but refined in its properties, this new edition is a harmony of elegance and modernity, traditional and contemporary, an evolution of tradition summarized in a single timepiece. Always with the objective of preserving the ancestral watchmaking savoir-faire, so precious for me, and while evolving it with the capacities developed until now, I wanted a technical timepiece that is rich in artisanal craftsmanship. This is the platinum edition of the C by Romain Gauthier at lot 24 with an estimated value set between 20,000 to 40,000 in Swiss francs. Lot 24. Again, I want to highlight a brand that I didn't discuss so far. And I'm going to go with lot 14, Ferdinand Berthoud. This is a heritage maker known for primarily marine chronometers, which the president of Chopard Watches personally collected. Carl Friedrich Schäufele was an established collector of Ferdinand Berthoud marine chronometers. So when he had a chance to actually acquire the rights to the name, he just couldn't miss that opportunity, and basically created an even more elevated watchmaking house, watchmaking brand within the Chopard family. The movements are made in very limited iterations, and the watches themselves usually express a kind of restrained complexity, certainly using noble materials, employing all kinds of high level finishing techniques, oftentimes employing tourbillon escapements, but more often than not, really focusing on showing the high level achievements of haute horlogerie watchmaking. This is a version of Ferdinand Berthoud that was awarded the chronometry prize at the GPHG upon its launch in 2020. This is number one of just 10 pieces. Ferdinand Berthoud chronomètre FP2RE in white gold with a white vitreous enamel dial. And the very first example of the series. Let's see what Herr Schäufele says about the watch. The collection draws inspiration from Ferdinand Berthoud's Marine Clock number 6, a benchmark of reliability and precision that earned the master watchmaker in 1770 the prestigious title of Horloger mécanicien du Roi et de la Marine française. The chronomètre FP2RE reinterprets the architecture and design of this emblematic marine chronometer through the lens of modern haute horlogerie, meeting the strictest standards of quality and precision. It has a 44 millimeter round case crafted in 18 karat white gold, housing an entirely novel movement that combines a fusée and chain transmission with a 1 second remontoir d'égalité. It is a deadbeat seconds watch, so it's pure, simple, three-hand display expressed in blued hands over this vitreous enamel dial actually hides a movement that is incredibly precise and quite complicated in its own way, as I've just explained, right? That's deadbeat seconds, that ticking seconds is basically tied to that 1 second remontoir, which allows the watch the display of natural deadbeat seconds over this two-level grand feu enamel dial, blending technical mastery with refined legibility. Carl Friedrich Schäufele continues, limited to just 10 examples, and this is number 1 out of 10. This is a particularly sought after watch for its apparent simplicity, which conceals a hand-wound mechanical movement of extraordinary chronometric performance. We're looking at the chronomètre FB2RE by Ferdinand Berthoud, lot 14 in the Marteau first strike auction, which is officially going to start bidding on Wednesday, October 15th until October 23rd, which is a Thursday. This piece has its value set between 100,000 to 200,000 in Swiss francs. We looked at Uhrwerk through Harry Winston, so let's see if I can find something that we didn't quite look at. Lot 20, we haven't highlighted any de Béthune pieces yet. This is a very neat watch because it is a version of the de Béthune DB25 perpetual calendar in a compact expression with a 40 millimeter titanium case, which still has plenty of character and wrist presence, both due to its design and its striking pierced lugs as well. Beautiful details as always for the de Béthune DB25 perpetual calendar, 40 millimeters in a lightweight titanium case. Denis Flageolet takes up the microphone in their own words. He says the perpetual calendar holds a special place in the history of watchmaking. It was self-evident that de Béthune would introduce its own interpretation, which we launched only 2 years after launching the brand. It was in fact our first in-house movement, and over the past 2 decades, it has remained at the very heart of our collection, inspiring several models, including pieces in the DB25 family. With the DB25 SQP, our challenge was to take everything we had learned, and to create our smallest perpetual calendar. This required us to rethink the mechanism, not only to reduce its dimensions, but also to preserve its clarity, legibility, and absolute reliability. Again, you see you have a beautiful balance of blue and silver throughout the watch, the unique expression of the spherical moon phase, a very balanced dial configuration with a pointer date that counters at 6 o'clock, that indicator for the phases of the moon. And then you also have 2 wickets, 2 apertures, one for day of the week at 9 o'clock and month at 3 o'clock. Beautiful to see the elements of handwork in that starry sky that serves as the backdrop to that upper subdial. The movement itself, of course, is a spectacle in its own right, with a number of its elements rendered in blue titanium, from the balance bridge to parts of the skeletonized oscillating weight. This is the de Béthune DB25 SQP at lot 20. The pre-auction estimate is set between 80,000 to 160,000 Swiss francs. Please hit the like button again. I think we have a handful more watches to discuss. I want to take a look at the Titan Hawk, lot 26, for the De Bethune DB27 V2, number 2 of a 3-piece pre-series for the Titan Hawk. Before the official 10-piece limited edition. Unique dial signature with De Bethune placed right beneath the hands. If you're a fan of De Bethune and the Titan Hawk specifically, this could be an interesting piece to take a look at, to follow. 43 millimeters in diameter. The titanium case features the pierced and floating lugs, which of course allowed the watch to sit as closely to the wrist as possible, right? Because once you strap it on, those floating lugs conform to your wrist specifically. A very rich, kind of like forest green guilloche dial that features that recognizable leaf-like symbol of De Bethune. Let's see what Denis Flageolet says. The 43 millimeter polished titanium case reflects our ongoing search for lightness and comfort, while the patented floating lugs allow the watch to adapt naturally to the wrist. Beneath the finely guilloche green dial beats the Auto V2 caliber, an automatic movement of 217 components. Its titanium balance, fitted with white gold inserts, is designed to optimize thermal stability and aerodynamic performance, while our proprietary flat terminal curve balance spring ensures precision across positions. The skeletonized titanium tungsten rotor, set with gold inserts, completes this carefully considered architecture. Lot 26, De Bethune DB27 V2, a pre-series version of the Titan Hawk, with its value set between 30,000 to 60,000 Swiss francs. This is lot 25. We can do this a little bit quickly because we have looked at an exquisite and very limited edition of the classic Traveler at lot 6. It was made for William and Son with a striking Chanevet enamel dial. This is also a limited edition version, the Atelier series, which is a limited run directly sold by the manufacturer every year. Magnetic green dial, only 15 pieces in 2022. Very unique shade of green, subtly sunray brushed. This is number 1 of 15. Of course, the watch is powered by the signature micro-rotor movement with an interpretation of the natural escapement. And this version also features a subdial for the seconds at 6, which, of course, because of the Champlevé enamel dial, was not part of the picture at lot 6. 41 millimeters, a polished titanium case, a dual time, travel time piece with a date at 3 o'clock and a digital expression of the reference hour, the jumping function initiated with these notched sliders on the left flank of the case, which recalls, which interpolates the first travel time Calatrava, which I believe was, I want to say, reference 2597. I think that was it. This is lot 25 for the Laurent Ferrier Galet Traveler Atelier series with the magnetic green dial, number 1 out of 15, with a pre-auction estimate that sets the value between 20,000 to 40,000 Swiss francs. When previously Alex Rosenfield was talking about how perpetual calendar pieces perhaps have a disproportionate amount of attention when it comes to 80s and 90s Urban Jürgensen, and this is one such example. Reference 2 is their perpetual calendar. Reference 3 has the additional indicator for the power reserve at 12 o'clock. Again, I always love a perpetual calendar that has the moon phase at 12 o'clock, which puts that romantic complication at the center of display. Beautiful pink gold case, 38 millimeters in diameter. Guilloche dial with a hobnail design for the center and basket weave, if I'm not mistaken, at 6 o'clock on the subdial for the pointer date. There are 2 apertures. At 9 o'clock, you have the day of the week, and at 3 o'clock, you have the month. A beautiful piece from the Derek Pratt era, building on the base of the self-winding Frédéric Piguet caliber 71. This is the Urban Jürgensen reference 3 in pink gold, the perpetual calendar with the power reserve indicator, as well as the moon phase indicator, of course. That is lot 22 with a pre-auction estimate in the range between 40,000 to 80,000 in Swiss francs. Lot 19 is a Danny Roth piece that carries a particular importance in the history of Danny Roth, because it is a piece created after the Hourglass acquisition, but still represents the watchmaker's unique touch. It's the last project that he um, meaningfully collaborated on, made for the 10th anniversary of Danny Roth as an independent maker. In this example, one of 110 pieces. This piece is in white gold. Beautiful guilloche patterns. An oversized subdial for the seconds is at the center of the design. The minute track is in the form of an upward facing crescent in the lower level, whereas you have the papillon, the butterfly shape for the upper tier of the dial, which again houses the seconds as well as the digital expression of the hour at the traditional 12 o'clock position, also beautifully framed with a rhodium plated window. Danny Roth says, when I designed the papillon, I wanted to invent a new way of reading the time, something poetic, intuitive, and unique. Created to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Danny Roth brand, this piece reflects my journey and experience as an independent watchmaker. The name Papillon is inspired by the shape of its 2-minute indicators, resembling wings that move gracefully along a semicircular arc. Unlike a traditional hand, these wings operate alternately. One remains still while the other advances, creating a continuous, fluid, and almost hypnotic motion. It is my way of transforming the reading of time into a dance rather than a mechanical measurement. At 12 o'clock, a jumping hour window clearly displays the hour. Every 60 minutes, the numeral changes with a sharp, precise jump, a moment of rigor that contrasts with the flowing movement of the minutes unfolding beneath it. For this anniversary edition, 3 variations were presented, including this white gold version, produced in only 110 pieces. All feature my signature double ellipse case, a harmonious silhouette that naturally fits the wrist. The dial is richly decorated with guilloche patterns, playing with the light like the delicate wings of a butterfly, while the openings are carefully crafted to offer both clarity and depth. I mean, look, I am biased. I really love this man, but of all the self-descriptions that we have read, isn't this the most stylish and the most poetic and most eloquent? Whatever we have read by Danny Roth so far as is like head and shoulders above everything else in this catalog. The Papillon 10th anniversary is more than just a watch. It's a celebration of 10 years of research, innovation, and horological passion. Lot 19, Danny Roth Papillon 10th anniversary in white gold. The jump hour piece that represents the last collaboration of Danny Roth with his eponymous brand. And the pre-auction estimate sets the value of this watch somewhere between 30,000 to 60,000 Swiss francs. Yeah, I mean, von Kroll, maybe you should design a watch. But overall, again, I'm a big fan of jump hour pieces. I like the particular way of displaying the minutes in this one. That's not retrograde, but certainly not traditional either. We're just fortunate that there has been a number of very interesting jump hour pieces here. Lot 19 that we just looked at, then the Quattro Spirits 25 in pink gold at lot 5 was another. So we are blessed in many ways. I think I have about 13 minutes left. If you have any last minute questions or if you want to show your support, that is kind of the notice. I'll try to cover as many watches as possible before I go on. Lot 18 is the famous Chopard 1860. This is the 50-piece limited edition. In stainless steel. Paying homage to the founding year of Chopard. The classic dress watch, 36.5 millimeters in stainless steel. Here, framing a warm, untreated 18-karat gold guilloche dial with a purist approach, created in collaboration with Revolution and Waco. The LUC 1860, Carl Friedrich Schäufele says, marked the debut of Chopard's LUC collection in 1997, a completely new line at the time, created to showcase the in-house watchmaking expertise of our manufacturer in Fleurier. Cost certified, the LUC 1860s movement featured the world's first bidirectional micro-rotor with a 22-karat gold oscillating weight that you can see here. This was a movement originally designed by Michel Parmigiani for Chopard exclusively. It bears the prestigious Geneva seal, equipped with a swan neck regulator, a Breguet overcoil, balance spring, fluid, refined architecture enhanced by numerous hand-finished decorative components. The case has a slightly smaller diameter of just under 37 millimeters, while the dial, complex, classic, and understated, embodies timeless elegance. As you guys know, one of the distinctive things about the new series of Chopard LUC 1860 is the way that the guilloche pattern seems to emanate outward, not from the imaginary dial center, but from the plaque that carries the brand signature, which is a very interesting and I think beautiful detail. I also like, and again, surprise, surprise, the absence of a date window, which makes it so much more pure, uninterrupted, and beautiful in my eyes, at least. This is the movement caliber 9640L-L. Omits the date display, adds the stop seconds function, and with its stacked twin barrels, it offers also 65 hours at full crank. solid gold dial without galvanic treatments, which has this raw, pure gold, intense look. Number 22 out of a 50-piece limited series. This is lot 18 for the Chopard LUC 1860 Revolution Edition. The pre-auction estimate is set between 10,000 to 20,000 in Swiss francs. Yeah, right? It's beautifully visible. And honestly, I mean, Chopard has really great micro rotor movements. The finishing on them, again, it's not, we're not talking about Philippe Dufort or Rebel Forcé or anything like that. But at this level, it's brilliant. I mean, it's so much better than anything you get for within that price point from any of the prestige makers. I mean, I wouldn't compare the finishing of a Patek Calatrava with something like this. It's really something else. Okay, we have 7 more minutes. I think I have time maybe for 2 more watches, 2 more pieces. Let me see what I will choose. Make it count. Let's do Habing 2 and Auvergne, lot 23. This is a Habring 2 Doppel for Horlogerie Suisse, one of 5 pieces of the Habring 2 Doppel 3, created in 2014 between the watchmaker and the watch magazine, developed with Max Buser's input, housed in a 42 millimeter stainless steel case, a white dial, and a monopusher split-second chronograph. Again, one of only 5 pieces. It has this kind of bull's head configuration, right, with a monopusher for the chronograph at 2 o'clock for start, stop, and reset, and then the rattrapante, the split seconds pusher located at 10, and you can see these 2 splaying seconds hands, which can be split and then catch up with each other with the use of that extra pusher. A nice white dial with 2 Breguet-style Arabic numerals at 12 and 6, and blued hands and baton indices. Simple 2-register look, 30-minute totalizer at 3 o'clock, and a continuous seconds on the subdial at 9. And here is the movement, A08MR mono, simplifying the start, stop, reset function of the split-second chronograph into a monopusher configuration. 42 millimeters in stainless case. As always, Hapling 2's watches have a beautiful way of combining utility and complexity with a certain accessibility and tool-like aesthetics. And this Doppel 3 has everything that goes to explain and embody all those attributes. And it's one of the more accessible pieces in this auction at lot 23, with an estimated value that is set between 5,000 to 10,000 in Swiss francs. I'm on the same boat, von Kroll. I'm a huge fan, and I'm going to get one sooner than later. Hopefully, once my finances are in a better order. Okay, the very last watch for the day. We go back to lot 15 for Uhrwerk Uhr 102. This is one of the foundational pieces that puts Uhrwerk on the map, both due to the design of the case, which is very retrofuturistic but also unique with its four-pronged lugs, and also its unique way of telling, of expressing time. An early example of the UR 102 or UR 102 from a small batch of 34 millimeter pieces in stainless steel. A very compact and rare model. This is what Felix Baumgartner says about the watch. Uhrwerk began as a team of just 3 passionate individuals, Martin Frey, my brother Thomas, and myself. Martin was responsible for the design, already exploring philosophical concepts of how to represent the passage of time. Thomas handcrafted the UR102 case, since CNC machines were far beyond our reach, and produced it in 3 sizes. The piece you have is the smallest and also the rarest. This is lot 15 again. My role, Felix Baumgartner says, was to develop the mechanism. We wanted to create a timepiece that was beyond time itself, outside of the trends of the era, when every watch was expected to be round with 2 hands. When we first presented this model at the AHCI stand, we were met with complete incomprehension from our peers. We showcased this creation as a piece of modern art, quite revolutionary. It builds on the base of a rather generic ETA 2892-2, but perhaps that makes the in-house module modification for its wandering hours complication, which has the number representing the hours, making its travel in that arc-like opening in the upper half of the dial, perhaps so much more impressive. The UR or UR 102, number 13, stainless steel, 34 millimeters in diameter. This is lot 15 with an estimated value between 40,000 to 80,000 in Swiss francs. Von Kroll, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I tried to read as much as what you wrote. But sometimes it's hard to balance the substance of what I want to convey and also integrate the chat, especially when I'm entirely on my own. I am making a conscious effort to speak faster, cover the topics faster, and relate to the people in the chat. So I appreciate it. Of course, when it's a super chat, I bow my head and get to it immediately, and it helps that it's these colored, beautiful messages that spark obviously joy in any creator who puts any sort of effort into this. But all your inputs are appreciated, especially St. Peter, Phoenician Cedar, and Von Cruel for today. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you, everybody, for your questions, your interjections, your suggestions, and your encouraging messages from the chat. I really appreciate it. Today we covered the Marteau First Strike auction. They are a new auction company. They're going to have their first online auction with bidding starting on the 15th, and the auction will complete, pardon me, the final bids will be submitted on Thursday, October 23rd. So still a long time to go. Feel free to check out the lots. I've posted the link many times in the chat, so you can catch it there. Otherwise, it shouldn't be too much of a problem finding it online, but I will share the link once more in the chat. If you have any questions, if something else comes up, feel free to send in that question in the form of a comment. At any rate, thank you so much for your support. If you just hit the like button, that's usually enough. If you share the link to this YouTube channel or my Instagram, which is at young.brando, and I'm sharing the link here in the chat as well, I would be very grateful. Anything that you do in interacting with these platforms, with my posts, is so important in elevating these channels, in boosting the exposure of these channels. So please, and I would be much grateful if you would do that. And if you want to support the platform, of course, YouTube gives you a number of options. I outlined some other ones in the video description here. I would be eternally grateful. Again, I'm doing this professionally, full-time. You see the kind of work that I consistently put out on Instagram, and I tried to replicate that. And replicate is perhaps not the right word. I tried to expand on that on YouTube too. And you see that my efforts are much more frequent and consistent in recent time. So I hope you appreciate that. If you do, feel free to show that support in any form you see fit. That's okay. That's okay. It's just, it's just a path that I chose for myself. I'm not, I haven't started out to be an influencer. It just fell upon me, honestly. I just like talking watches, honestly. At the end of the day, that is it. And I have a certain talent for it. I certainly have um, troves of knowledge about a great variety of watches. I like to think that I have a good eye for styling them as well. So all of that makes me something. I don't know. I'm certainly no big shot anywhere, but I'm at least not a um, for public speaking is not foreign to me. I just am finding my feet finally in this format as well, and I certainly appreciate your support. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, wear and enjoy your watches. Goodbye.